Last minute. These productions, oh my goodness. I don't know how people on television do this stuff. Are we live?
Live is now streaming.
Okay, great. We are live. Hi there. Okay, let me greet our audience and then I'll get back to you, Tina. So glad that you're here with us. Okay, good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you're tuning in from. And welcome to Extraordinary Women of Guts and Grace, a podcast about compassionate, fearless leadership. Hi, I'm Evelyn Cosme, your host, a transformational life and leadership coach, teacher, and spiritual healing guide, the CEO of Evelyn Cosme International. And I am passionate about helping women achieve self mastery and become empowered to lead not just their lives, but those they commit to lead with guts and grace. My guest today is Tina Hong, Executive Health and Wellness Coach, and I'm really excited to have her on the show. We've been in a class together, and I got to meet her, and I was impressed by her immediately because Tina and I share lots of similar beliefs and thoughts and knowledge about health and wellness today. And she is a powerhouse for sure and absolutely a leader of guts and grace when it comes to health and wellness. And I'm so happy to have you here, Tina. Would you like to greet the audience before I read your bio?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Evelyn, for having me on today. I'm really excited for the work that you're doing in transforming leaders, future leaders in business and in life. And just wanted to thank you for inviting me to have this discussion with you.
Absolutely. And I think it's going to be of great benefit for the audience, and anyone that views it will definitely get a lot from it, I'm sure. So I'm going to read Tina's bio, and I thank you for the bio, Tina. It was great, and I appreciate the information. So I'm going to uh, pull it up right now. And actually, I have it here with me, and I think I'll read it from here instead. And okay, so Tina Hong is an executive health coach, nutritional fat loss. That's an important detail right there. Specializing in body fat loss up to 100 pounds, digestive gut brain health, food addictions, anti inflammatory nutrition, and anti aging mindset. Tina Hong is a certified executive health coach who is committed to partnering with high achieving, busy business owners and entrepreneurs to achieve self mastery in claiming unstoppable health, life, business, and love. So important, Tina. It's very holistic, your point of view, and that's what I like about it. While improving daily performance through mindset and habit transformations, Tina has successfully worked with countless clients to lose up to 100 pounds. That's not easy of body fat, change body composition, build lean muscle mass and strength, control cravings, and eat purposefully and mindfully with choice, satisfaction, and pleasure. Heal fatigue that we're also going through right now at this time, increase energy, vitality, balance, inner peace, and fulfillment, improve biometrics, and reverse pre disease states such as improving hypertension, high blood pressure, pre-diabetes, and chronic digestive issues. Ms. Hong received her health coach training at the world renowned Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York City and is a member of the International Association of Health Coaches, American Holistic Health Association, and also a member of the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. Her specializations include food as medicine, food and mood, food addictions and natural fat loss, mind body nutrition, adrenal and chronic fatigue, digestive distress, hormonal health, and stress management and nutrition. She offers workshops for corporate and executive wellness and group transformational programs and personalized nutrition. Thank you, Tina, for being here. I'm really excited that you're here because I think that with the current state of affairs all over the world, not just in the United States, people are going through such high levels of stress and crisis of all sorts, from financial, including the health, socioeconomic, social, political. We could go on and on and on. And definitely something's got to give. And sadly, many times it's our health and our wellness, whether it's mind, our body, our emotions, our spirit, most importantly, as well, all get affected. So, my first question for you, young lady, is what did you want to be when you grew up? Because I think this sets the tone for a lot of people. And because I'm hoping and wanting for a lot of our future generation of leaders to be watching the podcast, I want people to understand that it starts very young. The things that you're interested in, the things that resonate with you. And we may change along the way, but sooner or later, our purpose comes into alignment with who we are. And in your case, I think you found your purpose for sure. So, what did you want to be when you grew up?
That's such an interesting question. Thank you. So probably when I was 8 or 9 years old, I knew early on that I wanted to actually be in advertising and commercial advertising back then, because I knew back then how important it. I guess I wanted to impact change early on in life. I wanted to, communicate with the world somehow in some profession, to be able to impact lives, change people's lives, and so at 8 or 9 years old, I said, I want to be in advertising. That's what I wanted to do. And I did pursue a design and innovation background for 20 years, and had a separate
Wow.
business early on in my career. Yeah. And I did pursue that, worked in advertising agencies, and was really working in consumer products. So everyday products that we engage with, from vacuum cleaners to, to diapers to, so I worked in consumer products for a number of years. And what's interesting about that is it was really about creativity and innovation back then, because in the consumer realm, I was always working in consumer insights. So how do we understand people's behaviors, and basically how do we develop solutions around what people need and want. And so that was my early career background way back when I
But you were only 10 years old and you already were thinking about the word advertisement. That tells me you're a pretty smart young lady.
yeah.
That's not something that most children would think about. Maybe on being on television, doing commercials, but the word advertising is totally a different league all in itself. But
Yeah.
I can understand how that probably ties in with what you're doing right now, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I went through several career transformations over the years, but in the last almost 15, 20 years, my journey in the health realm really started with the journey of caring for my father, who had stage 4 cancer
Mm.
for an extended period of time. He lived for 10 years with stage 4 cancer and exceeded all kinds of statistics. Um, so I was consulting for clients at that time, and in the kind of um, working on business problems, really for a lot of different kinds of businesses. But I, you know, my dad had a diagnosis with stage 4 GI cancer
Mm.
back in the early 2000s, and as a part of advocating for his medical journey for all that time, coordinating doctors, coordinating his care, and spending a significant amount of time being in hospital settings and navigating what to do in terms of it's a very rigorous kind of situation when you're caring for somebody who is facing the idea of life and death and how fragile life is. Um, so I guess that was really the turning point in the early 2000s when I said to myself, I really want to do something about this. When I was in Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, one of the best cancer centers in the
Yeah.
world, where people from all over the world were coming to get treated for terminal cancer. And I said, why are so many people getting sick? Can this be prevented? And, that's kind of what was the early happenings of me finding my passion for and love for really deciding that I wanted to do something about that. Yeah.
And I appreciate what you've shared. That takes a lot of vulnerability to share something so private, but yet it sheds so much light on how we can go through such difficult, dark times because having to oversee the healthcare of your dad probably wasn't an easy thing to do as a daughter, although you wanted to be there. And he had the best advocate, I know for sure.
Yeah.
So so it takes a lot of advocacy, and people need to be aware of what they're receiving in terms of treatment and medicine, et cetera. And just it's a matter of being informed and being knowledgeable to make the best healthcare choices possible. Now, I appreciate how you took that and you transformed it into something so positive and transformative for other people, because having acquired and being exposed so much to all those settings, I would imagine you were at times confused with a doctor at times because you were there all the time, probably asking all these questions that a lot of people are afraid to ask.
Absolutely.
So, thank you again for sharing that. And I know that there must be many in the audience who will be viewing this if they're not here live with us now, who have gone through that type of experience. Personally, I have as well with a family member, so I'm aware of how delicate and difficult it is to have to even consider losing someone that you love to such a terrible disease. So thank you again. Now, my next question, Tina, is tell us what's the most important thing for people to think about during stressful times of crisis when it comes to their health or weight loss. And
Mhm.
I've got a few pounds on me right now. I shouldn't have.
Right, right. So the pandemic has really kind of been a wake up call for everybody around the world. And one of the most important things in managing stress under times of crisis is first taking a pause. First taking a pause and being aware and conscious of how you're feeling. And you would think that I would say the first thing is, you should exercise and do nutrition and all of that. But before you even get into a regimen of better nutrition and exercise, in a time of crisis, we are reacting. So we are our fight or flight response is activated. And there's it's difficult to so there's an irrational response that happens, and so we're reacting, and there's emotions behind it. Sometimes it's not rational. So part of that self-control is like building a muscle, and part of it is just to start kind of building up that muscle of being able to control and manage stress when you have a lot of interference coming in from outside, meaning, your jobs, in terms of family loss, in terms of illness, things that you cannot control. The most important thing is really kind of start tuning in. And I always say that is the first step to actually turning your health around, and really having self compassion and love for yourself, especially in times of stress, because our bodies are instinctually in a position to respond and react and to conserve. So even when it comes to fat loss and actually changing your body composition and changing your health around and changing your health markers, our body goes through a physiological response when we're under stress. So, everything in terms of your body system, including your insulin response in terms of storing body fat versus losing body fat, in terms of your digestion, in terms of your endocrine system, all the things that hormonally that we need to actually feel balanced and feel happy and good gets sabotaged when we are under attack, under stress. So really, that fight or flight response system, to be actually tuning in first and to be aware of where you're at. Taking a pause is the most important step, and really starting to learn how to breathe. And a lot of clients, who have stressful jobs, I've had a client in the past say to me, and numerous clients have said this to me, "Oh my God, sometimes I even forget to breathe."
Oh, yes.
We're like walking around holding our breath when we're in a fight or flight response, when
Yeah.
we're in a stress response. So, just in the terms of bringing ourselves to our breath, bringing ourselves to awareness, am I even breathing? Am I holding my breath? Is like one simple thing that you could do just to start tuning in to seeing where you're at. And wellness is really the self-care, and self-love really starts with tuning in. Where am I? Where am I? Acknowledging where you're at, instead of denial. So just tuning into your breath is one simple way to actually start becoming aware of the present moment, not living in the past, not bringing your past and your fears from the past into the present, not looking into the future and bringing fears about the future into the present, but truly being in the present with yourself and acknowledging where you are.
And I really like what you said about just stepping back and being aware. Awareness, it is so important, not just for your health, but for anything and everything that you're doing. Even in leadership, self-awareness enhances your career in so many ways, and provides you with the opportunity to stop and think and consider things and the different possibilities. And the same thing goes with what you're saying, that compassion, being compassionate with
Mhm.
ourselves. It's so difficult. That's why I always sign off everything I say and do with much self-love, compassion, and benevolence with yourself, because it starts there. It has to begin there in order so that we can do that with others. Uh, and and that's why I wanted to bring you on the show, because I know you believe these things, and I so trust that anyone that from the audience that reaches out to you, you will do a great job in helping them change their mindset, because it starts there.
It does
It's
start
it's
there.
it's like you said, I'm not going to tell you to, to go walking or exercising. It starts with that self-awareness, and that's so key. Now, is there, Tina, a certain type of eating approach, diet that you recommend to your clients?
Yeah, so when we are in a high stress fight or flight response, it really literally changes our chemistry in our body and our ability to bring inflammation down. If we're in a high fight or flight response system and habit, basically our blood pressure raises, our physical ability to digest food slow down, our insulin response slows down. So every bit of our nervous system, our mechanisms actually slow down. And so when we are on a high carbohydrate, high sugar diet, basically that's feeding into pathways, hormonal pathways that tell our body to store body fat. So I recommend a low carbohydrate diet, a low sugar diet, and really, cleaning up the diet to be able to give your body the most efficient manner in which the food that you eat is data, to be able to have clear minds and clarity, and to have sustainable energy throughout the day where you're not having roller coaster crashes of energy, to sleep better, to feel better and more hopeful. And so there is a direct correlation between food and mood. What you eat is how you feel. And I do recommend a low carbohydrate diet, low sugar diet. And there's a million times a day I say, I know what to do, but I'm not doing it, right? I hear that all the time on almost every call that I make, right? And most people say, I know sugar is bad for me, I can't get unhooked, blah, blah, blah. Well, the thing is, like, if you are on a high carbohydrate diet, and you're having bagels and pizza and pasta and refined carbohydrates that have, flour and refined flour and refined wheat in the products, it actually will not only slow your metabolism down, but basically that's the same thing. Eating a bagel in the morning or a waffle in the morning or even oatmeal in the morning is the same thing as having three tablespoons of sugar in your coffee.
Even oatmeal?
Yes, because
No.
basically that's a refined carbohydrate that spikes your insulin.
Oh my.
So if that's the first thing you eat in the morning and you are having carbohydrates throughout the day, your body is being trained and taught that that is the source of energy that you need. And it's always going to take you onto a roller coaster, and you're never going to actually lose body fat and use body fat as fuel. And there's totally a lot of evidence and science out there that you can, once you go through your body adjustment in a low carbohydrate diet, that you can use your own body fat as fuel to sustain you throughout the day. And you get skinnier and more youthful, and at the same time you have an increase in energy, believe it or not, it happens.
That sounds like a winner to me, but I'm going to ask you, there's so much sugar hidden in different foods that we don't realize.
Absolutely.
Could you speak to that a little bit right now? Because sometimes we think, okay, I cut out extra sugar in my coffee or my tea and different things like that. I'm not eating a candy bar, but there is sugar hidden in different foods I'm aware of. So please speak to that a little.
Yeah, so if someone is on a highly processed diet, meaning that you're eating most of your meals that are coming from convenience foods, meaning that it's not whole foods nutrition, meaning it's in a wrapper, in a box, in a container, most of those foods that are shelf stable certainly have, have hidden sugars in it. And it could really add up. For example, even just 1 cup of a Yoplait yogurt could have 24 grams of sugar in it
Oh
or
my.
carbohydrates in it. And what that translates to is almost 6 or 7 teaspoons of sugar in one little cup. One
Wow.
little. So imagine that you're having that first thing in the morning. Your insulin is completely spiked. And basically your job, the job of insulin is to actually bring your blood sugar down so that you have, um, it comes out of your pancreas. Your insulin is produced by your pancreas. And when you are constantly hitting up that insulin, and you're carrying 20, 30, 50 pounds of body fat, excess body fat that you don't need, your body becomes insulin resistant. So your insulin stops responding. And that's when you start creating more fat cells. So yes, there are hidden, there are hidden sugars in a lot of processed foods. So you think that like orange juice is healthy for you, right? You think, oh, the vitamin C in orange juice is great. But if you actually look at the vitamin C, I mean the orange juice that you're drinking, just 1 cup, one small 8-ounce cup of orange juice could have up to 30 grams of sugar.
Wow.
Now, those are hidden sugars. So people don't realize that if you're having a lot of processed foods, you're not really counting the sugars in terms of what you're putting into your coffee, but it's adding up.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
And how about then with the orange juice, for instance, you just mentioned? Are you speaking about freshly squeezed orange juice or container orange juice?
Well, it's very little difference actually.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
even freshly squeezed orange juice, it is fructose. There's 100 different names of sugar out there. Okay, so if you look on the back of a package, and I know freshly squeezed orange juice is coming straight from a fruit, but there's 100 different types of sugars out there. They're either manufactured in a lab or they're naturally occurring. Naturally occurring sugars come from fruit, but it's still sugar. It's fructose. It's called fructose. So if you think you're having healthy foods by having 3 glasses of orange juice a day, if you think on the calculation of it estimated at 30 grams of sugar, you're really having almost 10 teaspoons of sugar in that 1 8-ounce glass of orange juice, whether it's freshly squeezed or not. Um, in a shelf stable product that you would find in a grocery store, they do add some other things, preservatives, so that it's shelf stable, so it can stay on the shelf longer, which doesn't help you either.
Mhm.
But yes, that saying, 1 apple a day keeps the doctor away. If you're munching on fruit all day long, it's actually not great for you. It creates inflammation.
Oh, wow. And okay, and then sugar creates a lot of inflammation. Is it possible to detox from sugar? Because there's all these little books out now, detox from sugar, and all these, they're guaranteeing that if you follow this diet or that diet, how possible and realistic is a sugar detox?
Well, it depends on, so really, if you focus on a paleo approach to eating, and when I say paleo approach to eating, that doesn't mean it's an all meat diet. That is a total myth. Okay. Everybody thinks, oh, paleo is all meat, right? Meats and fish and land and sea proteins are the best type of nutrition you can have because it is full of naturally occurring amino acids that you need to actually have energy, to build new tissue in terms of muscle mass, in
Mm.
terms of bone density, brain health. But at the same time, what paleo means is really ancestral types of eating. So if you think of the ancestral times in caveman times before modern conveniences came in, before microwavable meals came into the scene in the 50s, where really eating is closest to the source. without processing is really the best way of getting detoxed from sugar,
Mm.
because those foods are not laden or hidden with sugars that you may not have control of when you're buying something on on the shelf in the grocery store. So the best way to actually choose what you're eating is really the perimeter of the grocery store. The perimeter of the grocery store is really where all the fresh products are in a grocery store. So if you're hanging out and most of your items in your grocery basket is from the middle of the aisles of the grocery store, I would recommend making a shift and spending more time on the perimeters. That's how every single grocery store is designed.
Wow.
Fresh foods, whole fresh foods like the vegetable produce aisle and the meats and the dairy and so forth. Those are all around the perimeter, the
Mm.
perishable products. That's
Makes
really
sense. Like now that I've never thought about it, but you're right about that.
absolutely. So that's where you want to spend most of your shopping minutes when you're grocery shopping.
Okay, now meat's getting more and more expensive nowadays. And then again, it depends on how they're fed and how they're treated
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the quality of meat and fish, etc.
Mm-hmm.
What are substitutes, if any, for someone who has perhaps a lower budget or but still wants to try to eat those nutrient-rich foods?
Yeah. So nutrient rich is a key word. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. For bite, you want to have as much nutrition. And Dr. Mark Hyman said this: Americans are overfed and undernourished. So
Mhm.
the choices that you make in terms of the nutrition that you have, the food that you eat, every bite for bite, you want to have it packed with as much nutrition as possible. And so with regards to the quality of meats or eating on a budget, you can do a lot on a budget. Many times, my clients, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, people aren't eating out as much, but people are still ordering takeout and so forth.
Yes.
Believe it or not, if you actually prep your foods and you buy bulk, meats, fish, and you know items, that you can actually save money even in the middle of the pandemic. So cost efficient strategies in terms of eating better, eating more real food is, I always say, like eggs. Eating the whole egg, including the yellow part of the egg, is a very cost effective whole nutrition food. So having eggs in your diet, and every single egg, one egg is 6 grams of protein. So people think, oh, I'll just have one egg. But if you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, you actually need more protein than you think,
Really?
because your body is going through transition. Your body is going through hormonal changes as we age. We're losing muscle mass, we're losing bone density as we age. And so really what you want to do is have adequate protein so you're at least maintaining what you have. Otherwise, you're continuing to get weaker and weaker and weaker. So, in terms of cost efficient strategies, I think when you can buy, as clean as possible, antibiotic free, pasture raised chickens or beef or pork, eating, getting foods from farmers markets. If not in the grocery store, trying to find organic or pasture raised is very important. But you can buy nowadays, even in the wholesale clubs, bulk packages of chicken that's organic. And it's just a matter of really prepping that and putting that, kind of, I always say get a bulk pack of like chicken legs or chicken thighs so that you have that ready to go, and designing your meals around that and putting that into smaller containers, into Ziploc bags, so that you have it available in the freezer just as you need to for meal per meal. And actually you end up saving a lot of money. Um, yeah, so that's probably one way. Just eggs. And just even like a wild caught tuna fish can has 24 grams of protein in one can. And that is really a great source of protein that is easy and accessible and doesn't require a lot of cooking, right?
Right.
But having bulk packages, like cans of pole caught or wild caught tuna fish is a very cost effective way of eating and getting really good nutrition. And also just varying your vegetables. You want to eat the rainbow. You want to really have as much, we get our antioxidants from vegetables. And what an antioxidant is, our body, as we age, we are oxidizing, right? So we're getting, we're
Who would have
losing.
thought?
Yeah, we're as we're aging, we're oxidizing. So when we get more wrinkles or less firmness in our skin and so forth, we're really aging. We're losing elasticity. We're losing collagen. And so a lot of times what we could do is to fight the oxidation or the aging process, having a variety of vegetables is really important. And the more, plant varieties out there in terms of leafy greens and vegetables that have color in it are higher in polyphenols, which are anti-inflammatory. So if you have joint pain, if you have inflammation, if you're carrying excess body fat, that is already inflammation in your body. You already have inflammation. So we have to do a lot more these days to actually fight the curve, really, and to do whatever we can, bite for bite, to be able to reverse the curve of aging and oxidation. I'm looking.
I I I think that, ladies and gentlemen, we just had a taste of what Tina can do. So if you are even interested in your health and wellness, the details that and the passion that Tina has with her work, you just showed it right there, Tina. Thank you so much. That was a session all its own.
Yeah. Well, and everybody's different. Everybody's environment, their gut environment, their health environment, the pharmaceutical medications they may be on, every single person's different. So a lot of people go out there and try to self-hack their way around trying to lose weight, and it ends up being just a diet where you may be restricting calories, and you may experience some initial total weight loss, but really it's about body fat loss. And body fat loss, the most important fat to lose is the visceral fat, which is in your deep organs, the fat that's accumulated around your organs. And that's the dangerous fat that can lead to heart disease, that can lead to other kinds of chronic health issues down the line, type 2 diabetes and so forth. And you don't really get down to losing visceral fat, the deep body fat. Like most people, when they go on diets, they'll lose surface fat. So they'll lose some weight in their arms and maybe a little bit on their belly, maybe in their butt, maybe in their breasts, and stuff like that. But that's surface fat. What's the dangerous fat is that visceral fat around our organs. And that is really, truly a physiological change that happens when you are able to sustain a much more nutrient dense diet, not restricting calories, but actually bite for bite, having more nutrition the food that you have.
Hmm. Well, we could go on, and I have so many questions,
Yeah.
but because I want to respect your time and that of the audience, let's move on to the next question. And
Sure.
how can people get unhooked from sugar? And I think you already mentioned a lot. Is there anything else you'd like to mention about that? Because all of that explanation you gave about foods, I think, was pretty
Hmm.
clear.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's a great question. How can you get unhooked from sugar? One of the most important things that I do with my clients coming in to who are interested in losing more than 20 pounds of body fat and reshaping their body in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, even in their 70s. You can you can actually change your body composition and look younger. You can de-age.
Wow.
One of the things is getting unhooked from sugar is when we have high carbohydrates and sugar in our diet, it's actually triggering our pathway, our pleasure hormone, which is a
Mm,
neurotransmitter in our brain called dopamine. And
mhm.
it's a pathway that gets triggered when we are having sugar. So when you have that bowl of ice cream, you feel giddy and really good, right? Temporarily, right?
Yes.
Or, if you
Mea
can
culpa.
if you can even tolerate digesting the milk proteins from it. Some people have difficulty even digesting it. I know for me, I can't digest a lot of dairy. So that's difficult for me. So everybody's different. But essentially, one of the most important things is that dopamine pathway, which is your pleasure hormone. People don't realize if you make that shift, start making that shift of finding other pathways of pleasure and joy and love,
Mm,
that things begin to change. So when you start eliminating the stuff, the sugar addiction, in terms of like the sugar intake on a daily basis, and I can help you transition from a high sugar, high carb diet to a lower carb diet and really getting unhooked for that. It's hard to jump. It's like I wish I could give you a magic pill and everybody's looking for that magic bullet, but our bodies need to adapt. You have to train your body not to read that as what you need,
mm.
and that takes time for adjustment. But within like 4 to 6 weeks, you could get really truly unhooked from sugar and lose the sugary palate, and you lose your cravings, and so forth. But again, it really depends on your lifestyle. So if you are leaders in your business and making impact in this world, and you're out to hit $1 million this year as a financial advisor, whatever you're trying to achieve, and that's your number one goal, and your health is taking a back seat, we're not really programming our body to take care of ourselves. We're trying to achieve more, which is fantastic. But
Yeah,
basically, that oxygen mask standpoint, like you got to put your oxygen mask before you can help others and help change
most
the world.
definitely.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
And the next question I have, how long does it take for people to change their dietary habits so it's permanent and sustainable?
Yeah. So literally, your body would go through physiological changes as you start eliminating certain types of food that aren't good for you, including processed foods and sugars. And in 6 weeks, you will start to experience changes. You'll feel more energetic. You'll actually experience some initial fat loss. And if you are carrying 30-50 pounds of weight,
Mm,
most people lose about a pound to a pound and a half per week just going on a whole foods diet, right? Whole food eating approach. Um, you can accelerate that depending on where you're at, your lifestyle situation. But essentially, if you follow my program, and which is a proven program where I've helped many many clients lose up to 100 pounds, within week 6 you will start seeing results, and sometimes people sooner than that. I have a client who came to me in December, and she came in weighing over 200 pounds, and she put on pandemic weight and so forth, and she couldn't stand it. She's single, and she wanted to get her profile up, and she just didn't want to even put her picture up. And she has made such tremendous progress. And a lot of leaders out there, a lot of people who are type A personalities, who are gung ho and changing the world, and really leading their lives in business and leadership, um, you know, um, are very much type A. They're gung ho with everything, but then they lack self care, and that's where things fall apart. It really needs to start with self care. Those the best performers in business, in terms of CEOs and leaders in business have a routine of self-care that is so critical to their performance on a daily basis. And in order to have really truly an unstoppable, dreamy life with your health and your love and your family and all the things that you want to enjoy today, not later, not 20 years down the road when it's too late, but right now you want to live your best life. And
Absolutely.
yeah, those people who are more very much performance driven, who are high achievers, really require, a self-care routine that is significant, because they're handling a lot of stress. They're handling managing people. They're handling managing a lot of interference in the business world and in the political world or whatever community world that they're leading.
And I, I think that we're back to basics in terms of self-care when life was simpler and
Mhm.
people walked after dinner, perhaps, and there were less foods. It was a more common type of diet. Um, but then, like you mentioned, with the microwave and canned goods, things became easier, but not healthier. And
Right.
in the long term, all these foods and either lack of exercise and movement
Mhm.
and just enjoying the simple things of life. You mentioned breathing.
Mhm.
How important now is that with everything we're going through to think about breathing? And I think right now everyone is appreciating, because we don't appreciate things until we lose them or until they're affected,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
breathing is so key. Do you teach in your programs breathing exercises and
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
yes.
so I practice Kundalini yoga, which is more breath work oriented. It's about raising your chakras and energy, right? So I
Mhm.
used to do vinyasa flow and stuff like that back in the in the early part of my yoga um, training days. But basically now I practice exclusively Kundalini yoga, which is about raising your vibrations and raising your breath, and it's completely breath work. So here's one hack for everybody that you have right now that you could do when you are under attack in your fight or flight response. Just being able to close one nostril.
Hmm. Anyone?
And you could do either one. Basically, close one nostril, and basically what you're going to do is inhale through your nostril to the top, almost to the top of your head, and hold it for 4 seconds, and then release through your nose, not through your mouth. So just doing that, and do 4 cycles of that, and then switch
Okay,
your nostril.
so we switch.
Yeah, so do 4 cycles on one nostril,
Okay.
and you're going to take all the way, you're going to take your inhalation through your nostril all the way to the top, hold it for 4, and then exhale through your nose. And literally, when you're exhaling, like exhale through your nose all the oxygen out of your belly. And when you do that through 4 cycles and then switch your nostril on the other 4, and you do that kind of repetition, it creates a parasympathetic response. And believe it or not, it will totally change your mindset like instantly. It's like such
Wonderful.
an amazing hack.
Thank you for that hack. I appreciate it. This show has definitely been wonderful because you've brought so much information that we could start implementing immediately in our lives. And okay, next question. How can women improve their energy when they're juggling so much in their lives? We are multi-passionate, we wear many hats, and we want to take care of everything and everybody. What
Yeah.
would you say to that?
So I always say, and those high performing leaders in business and in life, CEOs of households, have so many responsibility. And if you are in the sandwich generation where you have aging parents, even that you're taking care of, that's a really tough. tough situation. So you're taking care of your children, you're taking care of aging parents. That's such a huge amount of stress, and be able to work and so forth. So no doubt, that is like the most difficult generation, I think, who have so much on their shoulders, especially during this pandemic. One of the best, one of the most important things for people who are juggling too much is really getting organized, and getting organized around your self-care plan. And people think, oh, well, if I just, walk a little, and I just kind of, downplay my sugar a little bit, that's like setting sort of an intention, but you're not really putting it into a plan. You're not getting organized. So lifestyle changes don't happen until you put structure around it. And literally that means like plugging things into your calendar, where you are not going to get sideswiped by whatever comes up that minute, that day, but literally putting organization around your self-care and prioritizing that. If you are able to do that and optimizing your schedule, that it is, that's dedicated solely for you. You need that fuel. And it's so hard for people and mothers to actually set aside their own needs and always give and give and give and give and give. And the thing is, you continue to give and give and give and give and give, and there's no restoration. That's when people burn out. That's when people start experiencing pre-disease states and metabolic disorders. And believe it or not, it sneaks up on you, and you don't even realize. You may look okay on the outside, but what's happening really is what's happening on the inside. And you push it off and you put it under the rug. Like it's the saddest thing to hear from moms who are taking care of their children as well as aging parents. I just have to put myself on hold. And
yes,
that's so sad to me, because right now is living. You're living your best life. God made us to live the best life we can with what we have right now. And so putting yourself on hold is kind of saying, I don't need to breathe right now. I'm just going to hold my breath until it's my turn, until it's my turn. So the organization is really important in terms of reprogramming your habits to get your best health back.
I agree. And I think I would include in that even decluttering as well.
Oh, yeah,
That's
totally.
part of organization. The decluttering drawers, the closets, the hallways, areas where you and the family are at constantly, and just have the essentials. And I went from a 3-bedroom to a 2 to a 1, and I have so much more time to do other things now. My son's already a grown man, so he's out of the house. So I don't have to juggle that part of my life right now. But I'm finding that I have time because it's not spent on caring for the house or decorating or this or that, just living with what I really need, the things I really love, that have sentimental value are the things that I keep around. And that has definitely cleared up my mind and my spirit, just my space in general, not just physically. And so I do appreciate that about organization. And those of us that are in business, or we are leaders in organizations, whether it's faith-based, philanthropic, whatever the case may be, or a corporate position, organization is so key, because we have to juggle, no matter whether you're a man or a woman, you just have to juggle so many things at a given time. And if we have what we need at hand, the basics, life is so much easier and so much happier. And having gone through this entrepreneurial ship process and journey myself, having to pivot online, I've had to toss out things. This doesn't work, and streamline everything in my life so that I can squeeze in a podcast, posting, and dealing with clients and potential clients, answering their questions. It's a whole process to
Mhm.
come online. So I know that a lot of people viewing us are going through that very same thing right now. Everyone's pivoting online and creating their presence somehow, some way. And it's a trial and error thing. Some things work, some things don't, so whatever the case may be, organization is definitely key. So do you help your clients also with your programs with the organization aspect of their lives?
Yeah, so um, one respect, organizing your kitchen, organizing your food is really important to have sustainable food that's going to be available
Absolutely.
for you in terms of nourishment. So I help people organize in that way. I used to do like literally, clients would hire me to come into New York City and pay me to work with their housekeepers or their nannies to help them teach them how to cook better, teach them how to organize
Oh,
their
wonderful.
and or caretakers who are taking care of their elderly. So I can advise on that. It's hard to do in person,
Of course.
obviously, but certainly there's so many things that can be done in terms of having a consultation. And the other thing is I work with a lot of personal organizers, and they have amazing tools and strategies and ways. I work with a lot of personal organizers because when we have a cluttered space, our mind is cluttered, our life is cluttered. So yes, having a visual cleanliness, even visual cleanliness in front of our dining room table in your eating environment. And I do a lot of work with my clients and in training them to eat as meditation and bringing the five senses into your meals so that it becomes an act of nourishment. You
Do
know,
you mean we can't eat at our desk while we're working?
yeah, I mean, to take a 15-20 minute break to actually, not be multitasking
Of
for
course.
20 minutes out of how many hours a day you're in front of a computer or working. But yeah, just a simple act of mindful eating can be incredibly powerful in terms of really declaring an act of self care and nourishment. And that is really hard for people. That is
It
super
is. It
hard.
is.
Most people are in front of their computers, eating in front of their computers, or eating in front of the television, which is the worst. It's
I
like
know.
mindlessly eating, so you're not even aware. So part of the program that I work with clients on is really starting with mindful eating and really starting to slow things down and becoming much more in tune with yourself. Am I full? Am I really hungry? Is this emotional hunger? Or is this physical hunger? Like really being able to determine those different states and becoming more aware.
And is there a way to kind of like, without going into too much depth, how do you figure out emotional eating versus being really hungry?
Yeah, so real actual hunger comes on gradually. When you all of a sudden have like a fast pang of hunger, it can be emotional hunger.
Okay, wow.
And or you are insulin resistant and essentially have been on a high carbohydrate, high sugar diet, and basically your blood sugar is dropping. And this is the roller coaster that most people are on out there. And how can you perform with a roller coaster of hormones? If you need to be on the ball all day long, you need to have a sustained level of energy and mental clarity throughout the day. And if you are on a high carbohydrate, high sugar diet, it will take you on that roller coaster and it'll take you off your game.
And it affects the vision and it creates fogginess as well. And I'm aware of that, been through that myself.
Mhm.
You and I will be talking soon. Now, We're just about ready to wrap up, and I'd like to ask you, is there anything else you feel important to share with the audience in terms of the work that you do?
Yeah. So I just, I think people probably have a good idea. I want to invite people to, I invite your audience to book a one-on-one with me, complimentary. Um, I'm happy to do a health history review for you and to help you navigate some of the things that you might have been roadblocked for a while, that you're not even maybe aware of. You think you might be aware of, but not sure how to take it to the next level. So I wanted to invite you to that, and you can book a one-on-one with me by going to the link, the bit.ly link, bit.ly
Uh-huh.
// unstoppable health. And you can, and, we can add the link later. But here's one last thing that I want to share with your audience. In the midst of this crises, in the midst of fear, in the midst of, a lot of darkness around us, right? I encourage you to find your light. I encourage you to tune in, to search for that light that is there, because that light is really what's going to guide you. And we need this time to fall in love with ourselves. And maybe this pandemic is a wake up call for some of you, because we've put ourselves on the back burner a bit too long. And
Hmm.
we've been achieving, 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 achieving. And right now is an amazing time to have a date with yourself, fall in love with yourself, and fall in love with yourself, like learning how to date yourself,
Hmm.
learning how to see the most beautiful parts of you again. And that brings you to your why you want to be is, live your best life right now, not 20 years from now when you're on a walker,
Of
but right
course.
now in your midlife, while you're performing and doing amazing feats on a daily basis. So fall in love with yourself right now, have a date, figure it out, like, whatever you love to do, make that happen and find joy and light. So I encourage you all to do that. And if you need help and some pointers of how to get in that direction and feel stuck, I invite you to that one-on-one conversation with me, because I'm just going to love you up, because what I want to do is I want to help you. I want to help you live your best life right now. And I want to help you not wait before it's too late.
Thank you so much. And I will be posting your contact information below the video in the comments. So everyone check that out so you can reach Tina and get that one-on-one, which I will be doing too. And I have one last question though. Give
Sure.
us some tips for women, any strategies or mindset that works for you as a leader in
Hmm.
achieving your goals, your business goals and your personal goals.
Yeah, so there's so many different ones, but essentially, that self-care time early in the morning when you're in a half awake, half asleep, half awake state,
Yes.
and utilizing that time before your coffee, before your day gets crazy, whatever time that is. Usually for me, it's anywhere from between 5:30 in the morning and 7 in the morning, early in the morning, when I'm just
Mhm.
just laying in bed and loving yourself up and being kind to your thoughts about yourself and what you want to accomplish for yourself for that day. Not your to-do checklist, but saying loving thoughts to yourself, as if you're speaking with your child,
Mhm.
you know that you are love and you are light, and that you're destined to do something amazing in this world today, and to actually get into affirmations of I am this, I am light, I am love, I am a giver, I am, a receiver too. I want to receive. And those I
Absolutely.
am affirmations are
Mhm.
huge, are
Yeah,
huge.
I do believe so. Thank you so much, Tina. It was wonderful to have you on the show today. And I hope we can do this again and we can talk about different health and wellness topics because I
Sure.
still have so many questions I could ask you, but we're limited to time. And like I said, I want to respect your time. I know you're very busy and I appreciate you took time out to be with us. Um, Words of wisdom regarding health and wellness, I think you mentioned them right there. The self-love in the morning and caring for yourself, the breath work, which is so important. And you gave so many wonderful tips and hacks that I truly appreciate. It was a great show.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we're coming to an end, and I'm going to say farewell to the audience. Thank you, Tina, again. I appreciate you, and we'll be in touch, of course. And I'd like to announce, first of all, that I'll be changing all of the systems, all the technology in the next few days. So everybody stay tuned. I'll let you know via Facebook and different social media when that change has occurred so you'll know how to reach me. And as I always say, and I sign off, much self-love, much compassion for yourself and benevolence because you
Mm.
deserve it and I deserve it and everybody around us deserves it too. Keep the peace. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank
Thank
you, Tina.
thank
Love
you,
you. That
Evelyn.
was
Love
great.
you
Thank
too.
you. Bye bye.
Okay, see you soon.